Hi, welcome to part 2 of creating the Maha Mritunjaya Yantra. So some of you have been making the gates with me and now you're on to part 2. Some of you are joining me here because you already have your gates. And the first thing we're going to do is find the measurement for the outer petal band. So I'm going to take that from the gates. Put my metal on the edge, actually not on the edge for this one, because we're going to fit in 3 rows of petals, so they're going to get progressively smaller. So I'm even going to start with a slightly smaller petal band, the outer one. So I take that measurement, can you see that? Take that measurement, it's almost the width of the gates, minus a little bit. Then I take my compass and put it on the yantra, make a mark. Then I'll put the metal in the center, open it up wide, and there you have your circle. So for those of you joining us, again, let's just take a breath and recite the mantra together. Tryambakam Yajamahe Sukandem Pushtivardhanan Urvarukamiva Bandhanan Mritua Mukshya Mamritata. So we're dividing this outer circle, this outer petal band, so we can create 8 petals. And this yantra has a lot of 8 petals. So I could even have done that extra line there. Let's do that. So I made a crisscross. I had my metal on one side, lead on the other. Made a little semicircle there and there. And then I switched it over, put the metal there, and then cross that line and that line. So now I have 2 crosses. And I'll take my pencil and ruler. Starting at the center, I'm going to go through and like I said, there's a lot of 8. So I'm going to do a line that goes a little bit further than normal. And then let's just double check that's really halfway. Okay, so that's pretty good. So then I go to the center and I make semicircles. What I'm going to do for the sake of this video is just mark out the semicircles now. And then when I have all the semicircles in, I'll do a period of creating the petal shapes. So here we have 8 semicircles. Then I'm going to create a little space in between this band of petals and the next. I'm going to take it from here. See that measurement? It's the measurement where the blue is going to be. I have that measurement and I'm going to create 6 lines. I already have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 evenly spaced lines. So let's draw those in. They're going to be gold rings, 3 gold rings. once you commit to drawing these rings, you don't want to move your compass in and out of the hole, because every time you put that compass back in, it'll land in just a slightly different spot. And you'll end up wondering why your circles are not parallel. So here's our 6 lines, 6 rings. The next thing we're going to do is create the petal band for the next lot of petals. So we have 8 more petals here. For this, I'm going to take a measurement that's going to be from here. Can you see that? Imagine this is a gold line and then a yellow line, the outer edge of the yellow lines. And then let's see how this looks. So now I have the base of my next petals. And I already have this in place. Halfway mark from that division we did earlier. I'm going to do another little test. Is it really in the middle? So I have that division. I've divided up that space and that space, and this is how I create my 8 petals. Now we're going to make 6 more lines. I feel like they end up being a little bit smaller than the original lot. So 1, I might also, at this point, I think I'm going to sharpen my compass. You really want to have a good point on your compass when you're doing these rings. So I have a trusty method where I take my lead out, put it into this lead holder, and then put it into this to sharpen it. These are really drafting tools, you know, like in the old days before they had AutoCAD or any architecture tools online, you'd use these kinds of implements, which I always think is interesting. It's like we're making a temple on a piece of paper. We're kind of drafting it out. And then once you feel like it has a good point, it goes back in the compass. Very handy. You know, when you buy a compass, they only give you a certain number of sharp leads. One other way you can do it is on a little piece of sandpaper. So we have 1. Just want to go a little smaller. 2. Wait a second. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now I'm going to draw those with my newly sharpened pencil. Lead. All right, so here we go. 1. And, you know, we're going to be painting these, so we can't have them too thin, or that will be unpleasant for us to deal with. So that's 3 lines. 4. 5, and then 1 more. Again, I'm not taking out my compass. I can already see that hole is not going to be forgiving. So now we have 2 rows of petals and 2 lots of bands, and everything is just getting smaller as you move towards the center. And our gaze will be becoming more and more focused as we move towards the center. Now we're going to do one last ring of 8 petals. The inner 8. We might have to just see what looks good. I'm going to try this measurement. It's really harmonious if you can make these petal band widths come from the outer gates. Sometimes it's just not possible. Like this is moving towards not being possible. Based on, we still have to fit in our star. So let's make it a little bit smaller. Still a measurement, it's just not the one I was going to originally use. So there we are. I think what might have happened is these are a little wide, perhaps. So this is all getting a bit small. I have this line from before. Where we divided this area by 2. So we could get these 8 petals. So now I'm closing my compass and just trying out this spacing to see if it's the same either side. So we have that new line, that new measurement line. And now I get to draw my 8 semicircles. Remember, these are just guides, guide spacing. It's really a beautiful yantra, and it's quite unique in that I don't think, at least on this channel, I don't think we've had a 3-row petal yantra yet. So I'll be talking more about what the 3 rows mean when we paint, when we mix the paints too. The general idea is that we are going from mental confusion. This is actually an interesting idea, isn't it, in healing, that it's really mental confusion that disturbs or distorts the energy pathways, and it's not until we calm down the mental confusion through things like meditation, which is a more Shiva practice, emptying, clearing, that we are able to calm our physical being, make our body harmonious with the 5 elements, and in the very center, we're receiving the grace from the 8 directions. So this is like the east East is the east. East is over here traditionally. And so the 8 directions. This is what we were doing at the beginning with the guidelines. We were calling in the 8 directions. And actually we're connecting then to the cosmos. To that which is behind matter, behind thought, behind everything. Can we align with that perfection in nature? So we go from this clearing any internal mind issues, battles. Remember, most things, even if they seem like they're external in our lives, they're really some kind of inner imbalance or inner battle that's going on, mental battle. Can we then find harmony in our physical body? And then can we connect with the subtle currents, which is nature in its perfection? So healing in these different levels, from somewhat subtle through the gross, but the gross in its bare form, the elements, to the really subtle energy that's pervading all things. And then we see this 5 elements again when we look at the 5-pointed star. So when I make the 5-pointed star, there is a way of doing it with the compass without measuring. As you know from your maths, 360 degrees in a circle divided by 5 is 72. So if you're good with a protractor, you can pull it out and mark off 72. We know there's going to be a mark at the top because it's a 5-pointed star that has the point at the top. What I do lately is actually just kind of work with my compass until it happily hits on 5 spots. And I know that these parts are just inside. So I mark off an estimate. It's just inside the diagonal lines. It's just above the horizontal line, and I'll actually just keep playing with it till I feel like I have 5 equal spaces. That way I don't need to use measuring. I don't need to use this longhand form for creating the 5-pointed star. So what I think we should do is we'll draw the petals together. Then I'll come back and I'll show you how I draw this 5-pointed star, and then we'll draw the star. How does that sound? We're going to make the petal shape. The petal shape has a point. Because we have 3 bands, it's not going to be as pointed as it might be, say, in a Venus yantra. I have a point, and then I go out to the side. Then I have another little shape in the inside. So it's a slightly different shape petal. Not quite as voluminous. I'm using these semicircles really just as guides for spacing. Sometimes I'll get through with all 8, and one of them will just look a little, I don't know, a little bit too asymmetrical, and I might erase that side and redo it. But generally, I just kind of let it flow. I usually try to exhale as I draw the fluid line. So I encourage you to look online. Probably you're online now, so look online for other ways to create the 5-pointed star, because it is actually really satisfying to do it. It's like long hand using the compass, only using the compass. And when I do that method, I'll probably take this circumference and go over here and do it on a separate piece of paper, because there's many steps to it. Many steps that are not going to fit into your yantra. And then once I have the precise measurement, I'll trace it and bring it back onto the center. So I like them just a touch. So maybe here I'll do a little erasing and try that again. And then usually we'll erase the semicircle. And at this point you can actually erase the outer circle too. Now you get to see what you're left with. So what did I do? Okay, so that's good enough for now. That's your outer 8. In general, the outer is more to do with the world too, and the inner is more to do with your celestial self. And what is the world other than a projection of our mind, our internal state? It's profound. There's so many profound teachings with every step of the way. So now we have this nice inner circuit. Really just following that semicircle shape around and yet making it my own. Just like those flowers you have in your garden. Every petal will just be a little bit different. It's like the petals carry you and your gaze to the center. They bring all of you. They bring your mind, they bring your body, they show you how you're connected to the elements, to the different states in matter, subtle to gross. And all of it gets annihilated by the time you get to the center, because in the center there is nothingness. Here we have Shiva. Shiva is this nothingness or emptiness. I want to have a good point on these petals. And then you can go ahead and do some erasing on this petal band. Erase the semicircles, erase the direction lines. And we will be doing more erasing as we paint, especially as the petals are white. You know, the lighter the color, the more transparent it becomes. So we definitely will be doing more erasing. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is the inner 8. These get painted gold, which is fun, also a little bit hard to see. Gold with silver behind. So the gold petals bring clarity. So this journey from the mind battles, the inner workings of the mind that we had out here, to clarity at the center. Oh, yeah, sometimes we talk about confusion. Confusion or clarity, which is really a nice way of putting it. You know, sometimes you feel like you're having a bad day. You can just say, there's some confusion today. And then when we're feeling really at peace, that's when there's clarity. Usually we don't talk about the mind unless there's confusion. When there's clarity in the mind, there's usually happiness, so not much to say. So when I have my 8 petals drawn, these are really so cute, these 8 inner 8, I will erase the guidelines. So here are the guidelines of the semicircles. If I over erase, I might just have to come back in with the petal shape. There are actually 2 Mahamritunjaya Yantras. Both of them involve a lot of petals. And, you know, we're starting to see why. How to eliminate all these layers of confusion. All right, so now I'm back in my 5-pointed star project. And today I really want to encourage you to be bold and just try to figure it out without lengthy procedures. Imagine if you were cutting something in half or dividing something in half, you know, you would just keep trying until both sides were the same. You don't necessarily have to get a calculator out. So in the same way, we're now going to see if we can make 5. So let's see how I did with my guesstimating. I did some marks on my paper earlier. There's one. There's the other one. That looks a bit big. And that looks a bit big. So I'm already knowing I'm going to make it a little smaller. The thing is, you do have to commit. Well, I don't know. These 2 look pretty good. That one and that one. And then that one and that one look good. which means that one and that one look good. So I'm wondering how to get that one and that one to look good. So close. All right, how about this? See how I'm kind of, people used to talk about fighting it out. Peter Weltevreder was really, second to Harish Tahari, my favorite, all-time favorite yantra teacher, because he would, well, first of all, I spent a lot of time with him in India when I was with Harish Tahari. And he would always encourage me to do the thing of fighting it out. He'd say, listen, you have to fight it out. So I am not minding, just showing you this is me fighting it out. So let's see, where's this top? All right, I think I've got it now. So I've made 5 marks on the side of my circle, and my compass could pretty happily go from there to there, from there to there, from there to there. So now, one thing that's nice, sharpen my pencil again, is to make there's going to be a horizontal line just above the guideline. Here. So go to my guideline. And I go up just to there. And I'm going to draw my horizontal line. Take a deep breath. I think that's going to work out great. And then here, I might draw a horizontal line. I don't actually need it yet, but I do want to know that these points are going to be in the same spot. Let's see. Maybe I'll just mark them really clearly. So now there's going to be an interesting shape where this is going to go to the top. And the other side is going to go there. So let's try that one. You know, your eyes are going to tell you, compared to the center, how even these are. See, I could just see this a little bit. All right, so that's more even. And then, from there we go to the opposite side. To star, almost looks like a guy with his arms out. Or somebody with their arms out. So I went back in and just fought a little bit more to get the proportions just a little bit better for the painting. Sometimes you have to go back in and play around a little bit. So I hope that inspires you to fight it out until you get what you really want. So now I'm pretty happy with the proportions, and I'll meet you for the painting.